What up, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show right here, right now, live on Black Power Media. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and your host for the day is Dr. Jared Ball, Kalanji Jamachenga, Burn It Down, Kim Brown, and Kamal Franklin. Let's go.
I
love the beat juggling intro.
Yeah,
I love it.
Kim.
DJ showing off in the morning.
Hey, let's
Okay.
go, man.
Got a
Birthday
real
DJ.
I've seen better.
Hey,
Birthday DJ. Oh wow, there's
Dude
Kamal.
about to
That's
be
at
grown.
Brooklyn.
I seen better white shirts at the gas station, but I ain't see that.
what? What you talking about?
Brah.
Jealousy.
Amico.
Jealousy.
Listen, Ear Doctor will roast you out here, dog. Don't be out here sleeping because Ear Doctor will
I'm
get
just-
you. He's got good timing and everything.
Listen,
Hey,
it's
Had a
nice.
joke right up.
Kim's
You
his
did a
only
good job.
fan.
You said what?
Kim's his only fan.
Hey, OnlyFans. Where's your OnlyFans at, Ear Doctor? Let me
Oh,
subscribe.
Lord.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, you gotta go back to MySpace. It's on MySpace.
Black Planet.
Black Planet.
I still think it's more Latin Planet. Yeah, the other joint. You know, the green.
Oh man,
Word,
Black
word.
Planet.
That's how we
Those are
start
the
this
days.
week off, this Wednesday off, man. Y'all rock out.
Seriously,
Thank you,
it's
sir.
8:03. It's 8:03 already. Y'all are wilding early.
There's something
So-
going on, man. I'm looking gray up in this joint right here, man. What's happening?
That's
Yes,
your normal
age,
color,
homeboy.
Oh, okay. I'm
Man,
still fly.
I saw.
Hey, tell him Kalanji, let him know. Shit, he's stunting out here, Silver Fox.
What's the shirt say? What's the shirt say?
All of us are none. Shout out to all of us are none over in the Bay, fighting for the rights of the prisoners and whatnot. You know what I mean? When they get released. You know what I mean? So definitely shout out to them. Salute to that particular organization. Yes. What you thought to say? Come on, trying to play me.
No, I wasn't trying to play you. I was trying to do I was like, what the shirt say? It was a serious ask, B.
Oh, hold up. Ear Doctor said Umar Johnson in
he
the
say?
building. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, he said he graduated from Umar Johnson School. Oh, okay, good. I got you now.
Oh, you trying to do jokes in the private chat too? Like,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, get out of here.
You know what I'm
Ear
saying?
Doctor.
Like, leave it alone. You know? How you doing, Kim? You got a little cold?
No, it's just cold. I mean,
Oh,
it's-
okay. No. I just thought you had a
Oh,
cold.
he's saying the real Dr. Umar Johnson is in the building. That's what
Oh,
he's
word?
saying. Did you see the chat?
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay. Yes,
That ain't no
yes. He
Umar
said-
Johnson,
So this Black
B.
Party.
That's not him.
Oh,
It said the
says
real
Umar
Dr. Umar. Put the thing back up. That's not him.
I mean, is that? Do you think?
I don't know. The
I
man
mean, it
said
says
this is
the
Black
real
Power
Dr.
Media.
Umar
Come on,
Johnson,
Umar,
and
why
that's
don't you
his
come on the
picture.
ear?
Who,
I want to talk
who
about
would
the
be
money
fronting?
situation. Let's talk about the money. Can we talk about the school money?
Okay.
What about
let's
the
see.
museum? What's up with that? Oh, that's the other nigga. My
That's
bad.
the other dude. No, that's
Wow.
My bad.
Y'all a hell of a welcoming
Hey,
committee, man. Soon as,
Hey, if that is the
Because-
real Dr. Umar, I'm sorry that we missed our chance to build with our brother Dr. Kemet Shockley a couple months ago. Or was this already a year ago? It might be a year ago already.
what was his name?
Yeah,
You forgot
last
to build
year.
it?
Dr. Kemet Shockley, this was last year.
okay.
He had initially tried to put a set of discussion with me and Dr. Umar Johnson up in Philly for a series that he had done. That is Dr. Shockley. And unfortunately, Brother Umar couldn't make it. And you know, so I was just saying, you know, it would have been so if that is in fact him, I wanted to take the opportunity to say, I'm sorry, I missed that opportunity.
Oh,
I
to build
want to
with the
take the
brother.
opportunity to say this is Black Power Media. This is the real
But
Black
yes,
Power
this
Media.
is Black Power Media. So
We in the
welcome.
building.
Absolutely.
Remix Morning Show. What's good? Everybody all right?
Nigga,
So, you
I'm
know,
just
quiet
confused.
for a minute.
I'm mad confused. I'm confused. So Omar Johnson's in the chat and not on the show. Is that what I'm
I don't
understanding?
know.
You want to bring him on the show?
Wait,
Is somebody catfish? I mean, fuck it. Like you think this wouldn't be a good conversation if Omar Johnson was up in here?
I did suffer almost suffer my first political catfish a few months ago. I think I talked about this where somebody on IG was fronting like they were no name. And we were setting up an interview and got all the way to the point. And then I ended up texting her and she was like, I don't know what you talk, or somebody associated with her. She was, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I reached back out to whoever this person was. And I was like, so what was your plan? So like, what was the plan?
Yes.
So we go live and then you show up and you're not her. What was did you think was going to happen? Like,
did they respond?
It's like the fake
they never
Drake rolling
responded.
around.
They never responded.
Yeah, I
So I
had
was
that
just like,
happen.
that's weird.
I expressed my fandom for Phil Collins on Instagram, and then like literally like 5 Phil Collinses showed up in my DMs like, you're so beautiful, it's so great to have you as a fan. Like, nigga, really? Phil Collins is DMing me right now with a brand new account and 2 followers. Is this what I'm supposed to believe?
When I'm winning your account, like, I can feel it coming.
I mean, what y'all thought I was Phil Collins' age? You think I was gonna fall for this? Like, I'm mad confused. So yeah, people try that catfish shit, like, you know, like
Hey.
niggas is dummies out here.
But speaking of celebrities, I've watched 2/3 of Kanye West's Drink Champs, and I only stopped to watch Kalanji, your great discussion last night on Ethiopia.
Oh yeah.
So if it wasn't for you doing some real work, I would have finished the Kanye interview. So I blame you for that.
I messed it all up, huh?
But you messed it all up with that joint, for real.
Let me see. Let me see. Ethiopia, Kanye.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No. You got to watch the interview. Kanye is God's representative here to lead us into a new day. Now, I want to say I've taken a lot of notes, and one day at some point I want to get into it, because I want to say this: when you peel past the surface layers, which to me sound like nonsense, right? He does drop some very important gems in that piece that I think that lead me to want to say I want to be non-politically catfished. And I would love for a discussion with Kanye, or for someone of our politics to get a discussion with Kanye. And I know what you're saying, but only because, and there's much more obviously we could say about it, but I just want to say, amidst all the nonsense, I just want to drop one gem that he dropped in the middle of a lot of funny and silly and just nonsense. He said he wants to go public with what he has which is himself as currently the biggest brand in the world. He wants to go public and become a publicly traded stock, raise over $1 trillion, is what he said it would start with. And then he wants to create not a universal basic income, but universal wealth. And he said, if everybody is getting $100,000, it will make it easier for them to make better choices. And I think that is the direction we need to go in. So I made a note that he needs the after party. He doesn't need Trump, but he's right in critiquing the Democrats. He's right in critiquing his celebrity friends like John Legend, who he goes in on for being, yes men to the Democrats. But they just need another place to go. Yeah,
that's John Legend is definitely square.
Oh man, he went in.
What's that wife? What's that wife? The one who had the baby and then did the whole thing on. I was like, what's going on? Have you lost your goddamn mind?
And thank you, Jared, for reminding me that Kanye went for Trump. All the more reason why I intend to disregard all things that Kanye said, because at the end of the day, if Kanye claims to be a billionaire like he is, there are 330 million people in the United States. Kanye could he could start redistributing his wealth today. He ain't got to wait to become no publicly traded company. He can start handing out money today.
It's not just that. He's not just he claimed he's 9 billion. Repeatedly, he claimed he's worth more than 9 billion. But when you look into it, and I did start to look into it, I admit I went down a little bit.
You went down a rabbit hole.
I did.
You started looking into Kanye's wealth.
God damn, Jared.
Well, because there are so many bigger. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get into this. We got to get into it. There's so many bigger points that once you get past the nonsense are really important. So in terms of understanding wealth and how it's created and where it is and all that stuff, it's very important to understand why he's claiming 9 billion and why he doesn't have 9 billion. And even if he had 1+ billion, it's all related to people investing in him as a brand. And that's what I think, like he's on some level recognizing accurately what is being done to him and to us. But his association, for me, honestly, between his religious beliefs and just being so rich and so famous, he lives in a completely alternate reality. So I understand why he comes out so, to me, confused and illogical. But there are pieces in there that I think there are threads we should start to pull on a little bit. That's all.
Jared, the man went from hanging with dead prez to Trump. I mean, like, goddamn, how backwards can you go? You know what I'm saying? Has the movement failed Kanye, or has Kanye bumped his goddamn head? Kanye's no dummy.
Bumped his goddamn
Y'all
head.
got to understand. I remember Kanye from back in the day, pre-Nutso, before The Wire and all that type shit. You know what I'm saying? Kanye knows what's going on, but all this other shit, like you said, what they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I mean, he's been hanging with the wrong crew. It's like you hang around with dogs, you end up getting fleas. That's just the reality of it. Big dogs, small dogs. But he's no fool. It's just you know, I mean, I think
he believes his own media. I mean, I think he just believes his every.
I don't even think that's it.
And perpetuates everything about himself to be bigger, better. And I think I think he has been impacted by the fact that he thinks he would be even bigger if it wasn't for racism, which I think is probably true to an extent, but it's also turned a couple of schools in some different directions for him and stuff like that. So
listen, he's a marketing genius, is what he is. Just like Dave Chappelle, they're able to keep their names in the mouths and in the media, mouths of the people and in the media. He's not stupid, because like somebody in the chat said, you know what I'm saying? When he's talking about freeing Larry Hoover, he know goddamn well what time it is. He ain't acting crazy and all that shit. He know where to nut up and where not to nut up at. You understand what I'm saying?
That's one of my notes, actually. Why is Larry Hoover? Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
I have a question. Is this the same interview in which he claimed that he was not actually a backpacker, that he used that backpacker image in order to gain his foray into the industry? Was this the same interview? Because I saw that comment.
I haven't heard that
around
part
the
yet.
Internet.
It might be in the last third of the interview, but I haven't. That's a good point. See, that's what I was saying. I do know that Larry Hoover has been recognized by the Jericho movement, and but I've been wondering, why is Larry Hoover the one political prisoner I've heard come out their mouth? So I'm very interested. Like this, there's a lot of interest. And to be real with everybody, I don't follow celebrity culture like that. So when I take these forays into Drink Champs, and I love that he calls Nori his Joe Rogan. And I didn't know he named his daughter after Noriega. I didn't know Noriega had this many deep relationships with this many people. I didn't know Nori was that important to that many people in hip hop. No disrespect. I didn't know. So like all this is still kind of like, it's fascinating, but I think, and I'm also thinking in terms of what happens in my classes and how to relate to some more things my students are saying. But there are threads that I think we can pull and make real use of that would be helpful in explaining why people like Kanye end up with so many of these confused conclusions. While raising some important points. Anyway, I know we got to get to the ear doctor, so that
was the answer right there. You said, why is he the one political prisoner? He's from Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And there, Chicago's a structured city, unlike a lot of these other little cities and towns and areas and whatever. You know, there are politics that have to be adhered to, and that's the reality of things. Unfortunately, you got places like Atlanta where it's like how the song used to go: anything goes when it comes to hoes. It's just like whatever you want to do is what you do, but you can't do that everywhere in the world. But anyway, like you were saying, the ear doctor, this deaf ass. Ear doctor.
Yo, Jared, I appreciate you for watching that interview, because I don't like talking to people who haven't watched the interview and talk about stuff. So it was like you said, once you peel back the bananas peel, it was a good interview. Very good. And
I'm just amazed that y'all have this much interest in Kanye. Like I lost interest in Kanye every bit of 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, he's a spectacle, really. You know what I mean? He's a Kardashian husband. You know what I mean? Like he's a drama queen. Like any shit that Kanye is talking about, I'm generally not fucking interested in, because this nigga is so out there. And the fact that he used people like us, like the Gen X backpacker base, in order to build his brand, and then said, well, fuck y'all niggas, we off that shit. It's like, I don't even like you no more, bro. I'm not even interested in your music, anything you have to say, nothing. But anyway, that's just
he definitely was a poser. Actually, Jay Prince got him and Drake together last night, so they finally reconciled their whole beef. So they back cool again.
you know what though? And you know what? Real quick, this is sad because and thank you, Jared, for pointing it out last night and mentioning the Ethiopian interview. there are wars and conflicts going on. Fuck Kanye and Drake. You know what I'm saying? People are dying right now. And we talking about fucking, and they ain't no diss because that's what the fuck we do. We talk about everything that's going on. But just listening to those folks last night talk about Ethiopia, I am charged on a whole nother level. So I'm just gonna say that because of the fact that we fucked up as a whole.
I just want to be clear. This isn't the only thing I'm watching, and I also want to be clear.
I'm not saying you
just about,
we're bringing up here, y'all.
It's not just about Kanye for me. It's honestly that show. I really love the Drink Champ show, and what I've learned about even my own generation of hip hop watching that show has been tremendous. But I also think because, again, Kanye comes up incessantly in my classrooms and elsewhere, to me, he is an unavoidable force that needs to be in some way addressed. And that's really where I'm coming from.
But in hip hop, is Kanye still that relevant in hip hop? Like, he's still
relevant in
like a godfather of hip hop these days or some shit. Or
if you want to deal with the youth and the culture, you need to know about culture right now, and he's very big.
But also in terms of him signing artists and as himself becoming another label. So like, and even his whole thing about Prince and why, I don't think he said it yet in this interview, but I think what he's pointing to is he's changed his name again to get free of contractual relationships, just like Prince did. So there are things that are importantly beyond him as an individual. And again, as I said, Donda to me is an unlistenable album. I cannot listen to it. Right? So I it's not about his music. It's about his place
I hope his security is tight, man, because he's treading right now. In becoming this this brand. You know, you're not gonna fuck with these white folks' money. You're not gonna fuck with these corporations. Either you're gonna partner with them or they're gonna take you out. And he kept saying,
"I probably died tomorrow." That in this whole interview, he kept saying that. He's like, "It is what it is." But anyway, let me give you all.
Anyway, wait a minute.
He's making them money.
Ain't nobody trying to kill Kanye over no guy. He gonna get killed in court. Ain't nobody coming after Kanye because he changed.
Watch the interview and we'll talk.
Artists are worth more dead than alive. It's been proven. You know what I'm saying?
No.
From Michael
record companies were not bumping
true.
off Kanye because he's changing his name. B. That's just not.
No, I ain't talking about his name. I'm talking about the brand.
That's not what he. Hold up, though. I think that's less far-fetched than Kamal does, first of all, because it is true. He would be worth more than alive. But my point is he's not threatening their money. He's making them money. That's why I don't think
as long as he, that's what I'm saying. As long as he stay in partnership, it's just that's what imperialism is on a smaller level, on a minute level. As long as you making money and as long as you performing for him, you're great. But the minute you decide to break your ass away for real, then it's going to be a problem.
All right, enough of Kanye.
It's done.
Enough of Kanye. Let's talk about some other MCs in hip hop. Let's get to it on this break.
Right on.
Jay-Z.
All right.
Shut up.
Woo! We getting started early, y'all. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and we are right here, and we rocking out, yo. Make sure y'all hit that that subscribe button right there at the bottom of the screen. And make sure y'all go to patreon.com, drop some change in the bucket so we can keep this mission moving. With that said, you see me on the west side. So, you know I like to do my top 5, and I like to see what y'all thoughts are all about a top 5. So today's top 5 I thought about was West Coast conscious rap. Who out the West Coast has some of the dopest conscious songs to me? Now, y'all might have y'all list, but I'm going to rock out for mine right here. First, I would like to start off. Let me get my little notepad out here. First, I would like to start off with no other than Ice Cube. That's right. The man that came out with True to the Game on the Death Certificate album. One of the hardest albums ever when they talk about some knowledge of self, this, that, and the third, and about your people. So big up to Ice Cube for Death Certificate. And we're going to stop there. Next, let's take it over to no other than Kendrick Lamar. That's right. Kendrick Lamar came out with a song called Black of the Berry, where he performed it at one of the Grammys, and they went crazy. He had fire on the stage, chains, this, that, and the third. But it was a song that you wouldn't regularly hear when he came out talking that bliggity black stuff. So big up to Kendrick. Next, let's take it down to Roscos. That's right. Roscos came out with a song called Nature of the Threat, which was like an 8-minute song just dropping bombs of knowledge and history all through the song. So that was one of the hardest conscious joints from the West Coast. Next, let's take it to no other than Tupac. One of my favorite songs, Changes. Yes, Change is what he's talking about the community and letting you know ain't shit changing, but we got to make some changes. So big up to Tupac. And my fifth MC is no other than Paris. That's right. Paris came out with The Devil Made Me Do It. The Devil Made Me Do It. That's right. One of the hardest black power, black, bliggity black rappers from the West Coast. And I got to give a real quick shout out to some runners up. We got Def Jeff. Don't forget about Def Jeff. He was the one who helped come out with We All in the Same Gang, the whole West Coast Stop the Violence movement joint. So he came out with that. He came out with Dropping Rhymes on Drums that also had Etta Baker. Etta, you know who I'm talking about, Kim. I messed up. But yeah, Etta was on there. And last but not least, West Coast Cam, who had Paint the White House Black. So big up to all my West Coast rappers out there that's doing your thing. Keep doing it. There's a whole bunch of other ones. So put in the chat room if you let me know. And let the other people know who else we should be checking for. So check it out. That's what it is. Now let's get back to the morning show, y'all.
What list was this?
Why does he always got his face screwed up?
What list was this? What list was this again?
West Coast conscious rap.
Dude, what happened to Boots Riley, man?
Oh my goodness, I was about to say.
I had it written
rest
down.
in peace, Pam the Funkstress.
What happened to Paris?
I did say Paris.
Paris was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed him because I missed you when you was talking about Def Jeff. Trivia question: who's Def Jeff's cousin on the East Coast?
Ice Cube.
Redhead Kingpin.
No, Grand Poobah.
Oh.
Really? All right.
Oh, wow.
Who's West Coast Cam's cousin?
Your father.
East Coast Cam.
Ice Cube.
A lot of hip hop shit going on right.
But I'm just saying,
Wait,
how you
and
forget
then-
the coup though? You can't talk about political hip hop
I know that's a really good
on
point.
any
actually.
coast. The coup is top 5 on any type of political hip hop. Period. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you brought that point up. That's why I said list your own, and I'll list mine.
Hey, shout out to that girl Mystic representing the Bay. Shout out to Jurassic 5. Shout out to the Hieroglyphics.
Medusa.
Yes.
Shout out to the Conscious Daughters.
Conscious Daughters, yeah.
From West Coast, yeah. Conscious Daughters.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm.
They're from the
Yeah,
Bay.
what's up, West Side? What's going on?
So that's what it is. That's my list.
Mahershala
hip hop
But I
Ali.
gotta
history
say, I think it's whack that Paris wrote an entire Public Enemy album for Chuck D. I didn't like
I
that.
didn't know that. Whoa.
One of the
album?
last ones they did. I even in the one interview I did with Chuck years ago, I asked him about that, and it was like one of the later ones that they did around the turn of the century. And it was a Paris produced Public Enemy album or something.
But you
like
said he
that.
also wrote all the lyrics?
He wrote the whole thing for Chuck, and I asked Chuck about it, and his point was, it happens all the time, and my voice is an instrument, and it's like somebody wrote a piece of music for John Coltrane, and I was respectful, but I'm like, nah,
No,
I'm not
wait a
with
minute.
that.
It's about putting a project together. You take different
I
pieces
know.
and put it together.
Are you into the MCs got to write their own lyrics, otherwise it's not real?
Nah.
Kinda.
Kinda.
I mean,
Because if I want to judge you as one of the,
wait a minute. So we talking Slick Rick is a storyteller. None of his stuff is real. So
But he wrote it.
I'm not talking about real.
You talking who wrote it?
He
Like,
But
wrote
no,
it.
you said if you ain't write it, it gotta be real. It gotta be from the person.
No.
But
No, that's
a
not
story-
what he said.
he's saying that
Dude,
nobody.
that's like
there's no
that's like
legitimacy
Grandmaster
if
Jay.
somebody else is writing for you, right? Basically.
That's like Grandmaster Jay calling himself a DJ, and then he's we supposed to respect him as a DJ when he's a fake DJ, and then we supposed to respect him as a quote unquote militant when he was a fake militant. So I mean, I'm confused all the way around.
You brought
mean,
that.
I
I
don't
don't
know,
know where
man.
that was. You just brought that in. You just had to get
Don't
Grandmaster.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, doctor, if I come in doing all your scratches, right? If I'm ghost scratching for you,
Thank you,
I mean, can you officially call yourself a DJ if someone
Yeah,
is literally
because-
doing all your skills?
Thank
yeah,
you,
because I can
Translator Kim.
still rock a party without scratching.
But that's
I'm
different.
a DJ.
That's different. A DJ.
No,
you expect
no.
A singer. No, wait a minute. A singer or a rapper. I mean, in defense to Chuck D. I mean, I probably haven't heard the album. I probably feel it was probably garbage. But
Wow.
if a singer like gets written for, songs get written for singers all the time, and their voice is an instrument, and no one says Aretha Franklin is not the greatest soul singer, if not singer of all time, right? And no one takes kudos away from her because a lot of her songs are written by other people. So how come
But
a
that to
great
me
hip
is not
hop
the same
artist who
thing.
can flip a line, who can flip a line,
Okay.
can't necessarily be a great MC if someone else wrote some material? He freaked it.
I think
That's
because
like
if we're doing levels and Mount
lyrics, man. Come
Rushmores,
on.
that would be a problem for it. So I think a better analogy might be, ear doctor, if someone else laid out the tracks that you were going to mix that night, told you when to blend them, literally maybe held your hand as you slid the fader across, like at some point that's not you anymore. So as someone who is rhyming, I do think it's different. Like Kanye West said, he got an honorary actual PhD, not even an ED, which are usually what the honorary
you are
doctors
heated about that.
I am heated about that. I am heated about that. I'm so bothered by that because then he throws it out there like he's like, I'm and my point is, my man, there's got to be some credit given. I didn't push the buttons on your production thing. I'm not claiming that I'm producing. So you gotta, at some point, you gotta do the work to get the credit for the thing. And I do think there is a difference between singing, even playing an instrument, and rhyming. And maybe I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just how I felt about it.
Do you have a problem with Jared? Do you have a problem with calling me ear doctor?
Not at all, because if you said no, honestly, there's a huge difference. If you said, Kanye West said, I have a PhD, call me a doctor because I was given an honorary. That to me is very different. Dr. Dre, both of them, the big one, like that's all good. I don't, Dr. J, that's the man. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
but don't say I got a PhD. That would be the difference.
Talk that talk, Jared.
And I'm still paying for it. God damn
it. Yo, I'm out, man. Bring the globe.
I think we should bring Millie Vanilli back.
Jared, you out here being a gatekeeper, man. You out here trying to determine who could be called doctor and who cannot be called doctor.
Millie Vanilli is different. If someone actually sung the song that they claim to sing, in this case, he's rhyming, but he didn't claim. It's not like someone is rhyming and he's moving his lips. It's not like Paris was rhyming backstage for him, and
they were making the song, man. They, girl, it's true. Anyway, let's go to the news, man. This is out of order, man.
Good night.
Can I just say one more thing about that thing real quick? Please. No. For years, I made mixtapes and never once referred to myself as a DJ. That's all I want to say. Okay. That's it. Come on, Kim. I know you got something good for us this morning.
Hey, Jared, you want to go there? You want to start off early this morning?
I thought you had pulled it all up, so you'd be my bad.
I thought it was set up to go.
It is. It's set up. It's ready to go. Listen, shout out to May. May very gently pulled me aside and said, "Auntie, you need to get off this auntie shit and figure out how to work the goddamn screen share in a timely fashion. All this delayed granny shit is not popping." So shout out to May. I appreciate that very much, sis. Please, gentlemen and ladies and bays, please tell me am I sharing my screen? Is the screen being shared?
No, not at all. There we go. All right.
Okay.
I was about to
that look like chairman right there.
What up? Kalanji Changa, always in tune to what's happening. So let me set this up for y'all. When I told Jared about this morning, Jared was like, "Word." I was like, "Yes, word." And shout out to my G, Dr. Rizzo, one of my followers over there on Burn It Down with Kim Brown, tagged me in this last night and was like, "Have you seen this?" I said, "No, I have not seen this." So Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Doing a online Q&A session addressed the use of his father's names by certain groups. And he was very specific about this. And I thought about Kalonji as soon as I saw it, because I'm like, Kalonji alluded to this like weeks ago. But I'm gonna play this and let everybody make their own decision and determination.
Oakland, California. You just got back from California. Now, The Rock, I have a question. The question is, these Frampton leftists online use Frampton ask for donations. Do you know about? Let me say this. There are so many people unauthorized or bogus utilize the name, of the chairman. Our name. You know what I'm saying? We in the process of heightening and dealing with these contradictions. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know what I'm saying, be black when it's beneficial, play Panther when it's profitable, when Cubs was comfortable. Know that that's your question. The Rock, know that it's not sanctioned. You know what I'm saying? No. Cut straight to the chase. No. We've been hearing about these different groups, and I've been really picking my moves about making sure I don't address each. Because, every day, all day, it's constant. A dime a dozen, different groups, individuals popping up, and you know what I'm saying? And the deal is sometimes we let shit sit and see what flies attract. However, you know what I'm saying? The deal is, man, to answer your question, no. You know what I'm saying? And we want the people, we want to heighten the country, people be very clear, be able to pick out authenticity from counterfeit. And as far as these individuals said, utilize not, our chairman's name and donation, no, that's not sanctioned. No, you know what I'm saying? We in the process of dealing with it. I say I'm not talking just on the cubs, talking the community, talking the people. Again, people in general. Right on for the update. Right on. Thank you. Right on. And bring it to our attention. We all see different.
So that's Fred Hampton Jr. Answering a question, Q&A live with his supporters about the use of his father's name. And there's a group of YouTubers and commenters called the Fred Hampton Leftists. And I've been on the show of one of them. Shout out to Sabby Sabs. I like Sabby Sabs. But I like a lot of people, and I know Kalonji brought this up, like I said, weeks ago, sort of, look a little quizzical, like, did you clear this with Fred Hampton Jr.? Like, did you ask? Is that okay if you just rock his daddy's name like that? So I'm curious about the panel's thoughts. Kalonji, I'd like to start with you, please.
Yeah, okay. I've been knowing Chim Fred. We ran together for years. In fact, I was part of his organization when he got out of prison. I was the chief coordinator, national chief coordinator for the Prisoners of Conscience Committee. And the thing is, the fact is, it's like, I don't blame them because of the fact that it's like we got folks that think they can do what the fuck they want to do. And that's just the reality of things. You have people that think that they can just utilize your name, your brand, the whole nine. And that goes all the way across with these organizations. And they utilize the shit and they say that they're paying homage. But it's just like with the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party is still here. Members of the party are still here. So for you to call yourself new anything is disrespectful. It's like, it's like somebody saying, I'm the new Dr. Jared Ball, and you sitting right there. Like, who the fuck are you? There's no relationship. There's no, you know what I'm saying? And they're using it like it's a brand and they think it's cool. So, and I've seen them shut people down. And that's why I'm saying, like, when you putting people's name on shit, make sure you got it clear. Because of the fact that the one thing I learned is folks respect street organizations more than they do community organizations, more than they do political organizations. You're not just going to put on a red bandana and go out in the middle of the street talking about your blood. You know what I'm saying? You go to certain areas, you get your head checked. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to organizers, community organizations and whatnot, it's just like anything goes. Nobody's not going to do anything because I'm just going to call myself this name, and they raise money in the name of certain people. You know what I'm saying? You got political prisoners behind the wall and people utilize that shit. They pimp it as if it's some type of game or some type of event. But, there's consequences.
So not nearly as much as Kalonji, but I've also known Fred for the better part of 20 plus years in a journalistic and activist sense since he came back with the POCC. I remember same thing. And in fact, when Kim, you said you were playing that clip, I know Fred enough that I can we text each other every once in a while. I sent him a text and thanked him for it. and I was going to say, you know, I know him well enough to text. I don't know that I always get a response, but you know, I at least wanted to let him know that I appreciated that he said that. I've also brought up even on this platform once or twice that I've noticed that the Fred Hampton leftists, it's not that I have an issue with them or that I, you know, or in any particular way. I just noticed in my little bits of looks at them and their work that they seem more akin to left of center liberals, Democratic Party, maybe, but I wasn't getting a lot of actual Fred Hampton politics in their expressed work. And in fact, one of the brothers from their collective has become so prevalent on Jimmy Dore that and in such a way that, with all due respect, I don't, you know, I used to watch Jimmy a lot. Between that and his recent arguments around vaccines and his argumentation has kind of turned me off. But my point was that if the brother was going to be on this platform and only going to represent a left of center, you know, or a left of Democratic Party, even, which is pretty good for the mainstream, so to speak, or even the, you know, mainstream alternative, so to speak, I just wasn't getting the politics of Fred Hampton or Fred Jr. or the world I know that they all come out of and work within to this day. So I was like, if I'm going to hear sort of a, you know, a black version of Jimmy Dore, you know, I mean, I could go elsewhere for that. I'm not really, you know, but anyway, so I'm just glad that these lines are being drawn. I'm glad he stepped out there and made a statement on it, and I hope that there's a way that folks can, you know, hear it and make it.
I'm not
I'm on two minds of it myself. I'm kind of on, like, part of me is obviously I think people are checking people's politics around an issue or using an issue that using a name that's close to them. So I think obviously there's good reason for discussion, debate, backlash, whatever. But sometimes I think, like, the names of folks when they pass, I just think there's such a wide, you know, like a Malcolm, like, you know, no one's, I don't know if anybody's ever checked with Malcolm's daughters for use of Malcolm's name. And there might be some things that she doesn't want his name used for. There might be others where they don't care. But, you know, I think some folks really, you know, like the King family will probably go out and sue motherfuckers left and right if somebody names something, because they got
Dexter specifically.
Yeah, they got financial. I mean, and it's not even about to me, a lot of it isn't about the politics with a family like that. It's more about controlling, quote unquote, now a brand, which I think is really a weird term anyway for political folks, but it's a brand that they are controlling, that they're more interested in making sure that they have, which I'm sure it's not really what Fred is doing. But I do think there's a little mishmash around, you know, the names of icons and heroes of the movement. And again, I'm not saying in this particular case, I don't know nothing about the Fred Hampton leftists or whatever. But I feel a little mishmash about like, you know, the use of a name as prominent as Fred in movement circles for political organizing and stuff like that. So yeah,
I mean, I'm definitely biased by the politics of it. Like, you know, for instance, when I joined years ago, you know, following in yours and others' footsteps, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, I thought that organization was far to the left of any living Malcolm heir. So I would have never thought at that time, certainly, I would have never thought twice about, I don't need to check with the family member because they're nowhere near where we are. Here, I'm thinking of politically, it's the opposite. I'm thinking you're dragging Fred Hampton to the right and as a brand, and I'm like, anyway. So that's what I was saying.
I mean, and I'm sorry. Let me just say this, like, because you know, the politics notwithstanding, the politics part about it, I guess, bothers me least. To me, it is, I guess, the co-optation of a man, of an image, of a message, and especially when his son is still out here bearing his exact same name. So it's like, at minimum, you know, whatever the politics are, it's like, if you're gonna adopt the name of a person who has been assassinated in the way that Fred Hampton was, but his son is still out here bearing his name, at least go ask him if it's all right if y'all call yourselves his daddy's name and his name. And it's the lack of asking for permission. You know, Kalonji was talking about, you know, obviously the street politics of certain things take precedent over actual organizations and political organizations, etc. Like, you got to clear shit with the streets in more cases than we care to admit. And I think using Fred Hampton's name is that way is something that at minimum should have been asked of his son, whether or not that was acceptable for them to do. It doesn't seem like that happened.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the Fred Hampton leftists. To be honest with you, whenever I see a lot of these groups with names of people that, you know, or organizations that have existed, I don't really, you know, to be honest with you, with all due respect, I don't take a lot of them serious because of the fact that it's just like, look, I'm into the work. I don't give a fuck what your name is. But on the flip side, you know, we where is the respect? You know what I'm saying? It's not like a cat is hard to find. You know what I'm saying? And put it in, you know, if it was you, how would you feel? If it's your father, if it's your mother, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to say, well, you know, it don't matter and all of this type shit. And, you know, the name is a brand. And fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that if anyone took any of our names, of our children's names, and utilized that shit improperly, then we would have a problem with it. That's just me. Or you stand a chance of getting denounced. That's just the reality. I can't just say I'm starting a France Fanon organization and shit, and I know how to reach the family. You know what I'm saying? Because then when they shut your shit down, now you looking crazy. They like, yo, well, you ain't even get no permission. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I guess I come from a different era or a different region where it's like, look, there's protocol. I don't care what everybody else is doing. What is our protocol and what is the structure we go by? I don't care what those folks over there are doing or those over there. If you disrespect my shit, then we got to talk about it. That's just the reality of it. And that's not no street shit. That's just the basic respect. It's just like what Jared's talking about with his PhD. You feel that way about your degree. Imagine how the fuck this man feel about his name.
For sure.
Damn right. Stop it, Kanye. Hey, look, I know we've been checked on our time here by our boss. So let me move on real quick. But I'm very glad, Kim, that you brought that story, and I'm very glad again that Fred said what he said, whether people agree or not. I'm glad he spoke on it. So if I can, so check this. So this is again what I think we have to struggle with. I don't know if folks saw this. And if the audio isn't working, so what? But I don't think it's really necessary. But let me know if you all can hear it.
It's quiet at first.
You hear anything?
Like a heartbeat.
Like a heartbeat.
Rhythm.
Yeah.
Is this X-rated, brother?
It says the way forward is uncharted.
Kaepernick corn.
It should
No
be
guarantees.
It should be off limits.
If you can see the path too clearly,
Take it all
is
off.
it really your own?
Sorry.
It calls those who've gone off the trail.
So to me, this is
But are not
a story that is that parallels to what we just did.
All the way. And when you're in the final stretch, you'll know. The finish line is no longer the finale. It's just a part of the rhythm. Ergata. Game on.
So like this is my thing. Like, again, I know, and my biggest and maybe only issue is that this is coming off of and being part of your brand as a radical, as a political figure, as somebody who has a comment, something to say politically for people in this moment. And then Ergata it's like, and then I did look it up. Like it's a very white owned company. Like I was hoping like at least be a black owned, like let there even be some drip of beige in the panoply of faces when I get to the about page, and it's nothing. And it's like, so wait a minute. So we get the whole struggle thing, and then you coming out with the book and with the series, and it's like all leading to this. And the other thing I would say just lastly is that this wipes out any potential political good he could do just on a symbolic branding level. That's what I was saying when he did the Nike commercial back and if this is the so it's just like rebranding radical politics, which is
I mean, and that's the whole even connected to the other story. That's the whole thing. It's people are so interested in fame and money and looks and branding. So it's not about work. It's not about organizing. It's not about creating an organization that has people behind it or that's struggling for power. It's not about that anymore with these cats. It's all about notice. It's all about being accepted, even if they're accepted not by a certain section of the political elite, right? The more liberal political elite. But it's not about challenging that elite. It's about being accepted by it. And that's, time and time again, people will use radical language, radical names, radical images, because they're far more interested in being accepted and getting the dough in some way or another. So even for Kaepernick, there was an avenue closed down to him. I'm not saying his politics weren't sincere in terms of what he was doing, but at some point, from being closed, it was never he never really went on the let's say the walk of like, I'm going to turn what there are people who are looking at me now and thinking that I'm some radical dude. So I'm going to turn this into an organizational apparatus and organize people about the very things that at least I claim I've been talking about. And that's that for me is the larger issue. Like you brought it up, I guess both of y'all brought it up, is kind of like where are those politics and what is it leading you to? So if it's leading you to endorsements with Jimmy Dore and just more notoriety on Twitter, but you're not organized by nobody, then it's like, it's no purpose for me, right? It's no purpose.
My thing about this Colin Kaepernick stuff is just like, at some point, can we please put down the narrative that Colin sacrificed everything? He gave up everything in order to take that knee and make a stand. Okay. Well, Colin didn't give up everything, y'all. Colin woke up in his $10 million co-op with his chef making him a gluten-free breakfast this morning. So that to me does not define necessarily sacrifice. Kalanji Changa, I stepped on your toe. What did you got to say, bro?
It was a good step on. I agree with you 100%, Kim. Thank you, Kim. I'm just thinking about the Congo. I'm just thinking about, could Colin Kaepernick monkey ass be in the middle of the fucking Congo making commercials? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talk about, I don't know, man. This whole organizing shit is lame. It's like, are we gonna win or are we here to look good losing, as little brother would say? I mean, this is ridiculous that we even exalt a motherfucker like this. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about somebody sacrifice that gave their life. Talk about Daruba. Talk about Sekou. You know what I'm saying? Talk about Asada. Talk about Mumia. You know what I'm saying? This monkey motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, running around kicking a goddamn football. You know what I'm saying? And we say he sacrificed because he sat on his knee. He got all kinds of movies, commercials, all that type shit. He's still eating well. And I know some of y'all out there, well, he gives to community organizations. Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Show me the actual facts, not the
I'm cool with
damage he does.
I'm okay with somebody writing a check. That's all right with me. But
I'm
go
cool
ahead,
with a check too.
But the brand,
go beyond that.
the symbolic, the symbolism destroys any value that the money would bring, because all the work that those people are doing will be made moot just by his overarching image. I mean, this is the argument I've been making for years about when Talib and them were doing Coke commercials and Common was doing Toyota commercials back in the early 2000s, while everybody was talking about, but there are revolutionaries. And I'm like, but they're killing their own message in their music by doing these commercials, because it's just it's a total contradiction. So,
and I still think it's the issue of us still expecting too much, like, maybe not us here,
well,
but
that's really
the general, in general, the whole celebrity culture is now we have this expectation that if someone says something radical, if someone said, and black folks will say things that are anti-oppression, right? Not even on purpose, because fucking people are mad about being oppressed. But it doesn't translate into they're about to move to a place where they're giving up their wealth or they're giving up access. Usually they mad because they can't get enough access, right? They mad because they're not getting the access that their white boy is getting. They're mad because they're not getting the play that somebody else is getting, right? That's usually what the upsetness is about. Kanye, went on his rant because his clothing line wasn't being accepted the way white clothing lines was, right? Everybody's trying to more. They more want to get next to the money. That's the real argument. That's the real issue for them. And once they get an avenue towards it, little by little, They back to being fans of the good old USA again. They back to being fans of capitalism again. Because really what they wanted was access. And if being angry gets you access and getting other people, even Michael Jackson tried to fucking be radical when he was like CBS. What is it? The CBS records where it's like oppressing him or treating him like a
Sony. He said Tommy Mottola is the devil.
Yes.
Devil and shit. He went to Al Sharpton to try
That's
to get
right.
fucking politics at one
Yes.
point. So niggas will sway to something that
And
they
OJ went to church. Remember?
OJ
when
went to
OJ went to church?
OJ went to church. So people will sway because they think they need to get black folks on their side. And then once they get what they want, you know what? Buy my shit and shut the fuck up. Right? That's not
like Daruba said. We are black people are like footballs. You know what I'm saying? We just getting kicked around from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, and that's how these goddamn capitalists treat us, man. It's like, look, okay, I'll come to you when there's a gripe. I remember Monique when they had the whole blood diamond situation going on. I remember her monkey ass getting up talking about some. I know it's blood diamond, but I'm gonna wear my diamonds. Then when the Netflix thing went down, then she's talking about everybody backing her and all that shit. Look, motherfucker, I don't forget. Some of y'all might say, well, you know, that was then, that was the past. I don't think talking about no blood diamonds is a joke. You know what I mean? That shit was the least funniest thing, and I stopped fucking with her at that particular point. But I didn't hear people, there was no uproar. Why? Because of the fact that we are politically retarded. We are stuck in our own little enclaves. We're stuck in our own little communities. And we're talking about basic level shit when real shit is going on. So, you know, yeah,
and
man,
just for the people who would try to cancel Kalanji for that, by retarded, he meant held back, not mentally disabled.
Yes, thank you very much.
Everybody, because I understand, you know, where we are today. So I just want to make sure we're all clear on that. He meant by the literal definition of held back.
You get caught up in that wordplay right there, then you fucking up now, and I ain't apologizing. So,
I didn't interpret it as a you were talking about mentally disabled people at all.
No,
I understood exactly what you meant.
I don't get down like that.
He was all clear over here.
Thank you. I'm saying if anybody else that want to be like, you know, he said this, because motherfuckers always looking for something as a reason to say we can't fight. Oh, I can't get with him because he said such and such. Man, get the fuck out of here. Let's go to war. Anyway, where the doc at, man?
Yeah, I know he's about to come up. I don't know where is he.
I'm short on time.
Come on, Air Doctor.
It's all good.
Okay,
at the Hip Hop Awards.
Is it the Bloskas or the Blandon?
No, it's Hip Hop History Month, so I wanted to give y'all a little history lesson on while we in the West Coast talk about my sister Yo-Yo. So that's what it is.
Is that who that is?
My
my bad. Oh, what's up, Yo-Yo?
I'm trying to play her out.
Never,
Let's get it.
She's like she just came from a Clairol commercial.
Love Yo-Yo. Yes, we love you, Yo-Yo.
Remix.
Yeah. Welcome out once again to the Remix Morning Show. And it is November, Hip Hop History Month, and my birthday month. Birthday is tomorrow, actually, so we're going to get it in. But for right now, we're going to talk about no other than Yo-Yo, a.k.a. Yolanda Whitaker. That's right. She was born August 4th, 1971. She is a MC and an actress. She pretty much was known for her female empowerment, denouncing the frequent sexism and misogyny in hip-hop. She's also a prodigy of Ice Cube, and she has a crew called the IBWC, the Intelligent Black Women's Coalition. Now, the dope thing about Yo-Yo is she's dropped over 4 albums. First album, Make Way with the Mother Lode. Second album, Black Pearl. Third album, You Better Ask Somebody. And 4th album, Total Control. Now, she's not only just did music, like I said, she's also done films. She's done TV. You might have seen her in Boys in the Hood, Who's the Man, Menace to Society, the Panther movie, Paper Soldiers, all types of movies. Even, Sister Act 2. And television, you seen her on Soul Train, Martin, as Key Lolo. You already know. That's Shanae homegirl. Moesha, Jamie Foxx Show, all types of stuff. So she's been doing her thing, and she's even one of the voices on Grand Theft Auto. So I got to give it up to my sister Yo-Yo, straight from Cali, Compton, California. She is that woman. So continue to do what you do. she pretty much got into some politics and stuff and doing stuff in the community. She founded the Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop to use hip hop curriculum for all at-risk students. So she's doing a thing and continues to do a thing, helping out the community. So big up to Yo-Yo. Just wanted to give a shout out to her, and that's what it is. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Show. Yeah.
Emotion.
Another hit? Is there another hit?
Bless the
Yo-Yo?
children.
You said, did she have another hit?
Besides, don't play with my yo-yo.
Yeah, she had a song
Hollywood.
called I Be with my
He was
crew.
born 20 years ago just to pimp clothes every day. New clothes. I got the cut,
Yes.
cool pose. Ow. Got
Yes,
the heat,
she was
got
on
the
a joint
heat,
with
so
Brandy.
fuck it. Banging fast shit because it's for the 20 ducat, struck it, kind of rich. Now his pockets looking straight, slam the D's on the benzo, pick cake by the gate. Mom's looking straight in her house. She got grape lounging in her new home that's about to stay. I'll be your Cornmeal hotel. You can get it when you want it, even though you got chicks all up on it. Don't matter, because brother, you fly. I can't lie. I've been macking daddy from the corner of my eye now. Baby, bring it on. Don't be fronting on your baby boo. All I want to know is what's up with you. How can I get with you? Seems like you got a hold on me. It must be voodoo, because baby, I want you.
I want to be
Okay.
down. Hey, yo.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Big up to
Coco,
Lil Bro.
Yo-Yo sister.
Shut up, Kalonji. Shut up,
Yo,
Kalonji.
that when she had that joint with Patra, Romantic Call. So yeah,
Hey,
she's been
yes.
on a number of joints.
That shit was hot. Shout out
Yeah.
to Patra. Where is Patra at? Jesus.
She went strict Christian. She ain't playing. She went
No,
vanity.
that was Lady Saul. Lady Saul went Christian. You told me Patra went Christian too?
I
Come on,
believe
DJ.
Patra went Christian too.
Wow.
So it is what it is. But that's your hip hop
Thank you,
history month person for the day. So we get back with you next break. Peace.
Yes.
All right. Shout out to my man, Minister Server, as well. He has a couple events coming up out here, and he's definitely, going to be on the show coming soon. He's been making some complaints saying that you ain't fresh. You ain't fresh. Anyway, there's an old school joint. Y'all know nothing about that. Ha! Welcome back. Remix Morning Show. I got to be capped out of that
Yes,
cabinet
indeed.
shit.
Welcome
yeah.
back.
About maybe
I
a couple
mean,
hours in the afro.
I think that the only caveat that I would want to throw out there for him and for the Kanyes and everybody else, and it's really a challenge to us, is that we have to create the environment that would make this unacceptable. Because they're not politically educated in the way that many of us have been. They're not coming out of the same formations, the same backgrounds politically, etc. And for some reason, watching that Drink Champs Kanye thing in a different way has me, I don't know, for some reason, just seeing, I don't know, for me, somewhat differently, this disconnect. I mean, they are living in an entirely different universe. To expect that they would see clearly the path that they need to take on their own, especially while they're being pulled by all these other forces, it's to be expected that we would see Colin Kaepernick in this daggone stupid commercial.
I think part of the reason too, we haven't made it cool. You know what I'm saying? A lot of folks who organize.
Are you saying organizing is the new cool?
Organize definitely the new cool. Shout out to the film crew. But anyway, no, I think that we kind of, a lot of organizers, I'm gonna just say it like this right here. A lot of organizers are corny. You know what I'm saying? You got to make shit hip. You got to be able to replace what's going on in the mainstream with something fly. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to be all stiff and rigid. You have to make your when you politicizing folks, you got to make that shit cool. And that's one of the things that attracted us to like Public Enemy and Dead Prez and all of them. When Dead Prez came out, you know what I'm saying? It was a as you all remember, between Public Enemy and X-Clan and all those folks, there was such a long stretch where there was no true mainstream, quote unquote, revolutionary music coming out. So when Dead Prez came out with their own style, with this whole new fly joint, with the RBG bandanas and all that type shit, it took on a whole new meaning, and you got people interested in it that might not have been interested in it. So we got to use what we call the cherry cough drop theory. We got to make that shit taste so good that they forget it's medicine. You know what I'm saying? We just can't come like just driving on motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And also, we have to learn how to organize outside of the community and go to the hood. You know what I'm saying? And work on changing that hood back to the neighborhood. You know what I mean? But who am I? I'm just a ranting raving lunatic.
Well, I mean, I think you're definitely onto something there, Kalonji. And I think what we saw here in DC with the Blackburn takeover was sort of an example of that. Like the kids really drove their own narrative about, number one, the challenges that we're facing, number two, the way that the administration was handling and not handling them at the same time. And they were able to amass really just straight up by word of mouth. Because I would honestly say that the Blackburn takeover, which lasted 34 days and just concluded just a couple of days ago, was not well covered, right? Like Jared covered it here on Black Power Media. I covered it. The local news in DC, they ain't covered the shit till it was over. You know what I mean? Like, so shout out to the youths who were able to create their own storyline around it and be able to promote it their own way. And it obviously, went down to Atlanta and expanded with the AUC, and Greg Carr, during an interview at the conclusion of the Blackburn takeover, even tied it into the Columbia University grad student strike that are striking right now. Like, so I think like the potential is really there. I think that the spirit for organization is probably more right in this moment than it has been in a long time, especially surrounding issues pertaining to labor. But we're also understanding that, especially coming out of last summer of 2020, when people were in the streets demanding that police be defunded and abolished, reformation was at the bottom of the list. But we're understanding now that our political leaders are not on the same page as us. And the only way to get to the shit that we want, at least in pertaining to that particular issue, is going to be to organize, is going to be to make sure that law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights go away in every single state, and to make sure that, qualified immunity is something that also goes away. So that's going to have to happen very much at the local level. Our federal and national political leaders are not going to do that. But I think the spirit of organization is probably at its highest point right now, with a lot of potential to go further up than we've seen in a very long time.
And speaking of which, I hope you're right, and Kim. But speaking of which, we have a couple guests coming in here just in just a moment. Who, speaking of activism, that is fresh back from Nicaragua, Black Alliance for Peace. We're going to get an update on some of that as well. But just as a quick reminder or a notice, it looks like April Silver is coming back Friday morning. Speaking of the coverage of all that, and bringing some students this Friday morning as well. So
ask some questions, Jared. I got questions, and I talked about this a little bit on my show yesterday. I said, you know what, I'm gonna shut the fuck up, because if this is what the kids want, if the kids are satisfied with the outcome and the settlement, then I'm gonna be quiet, because at the end of the day, they are the ones mostly impacted. But one of the demands was transparency on behalf of the university's administration, and this settlement is actually not transparent. They are not disclosing the terms of this settlement. So that was something I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, all right.
So April, she needs a show on BPM too, man. Since we
let's do it.
April has been so informed. I saw people bringing that up when she was on last time, as if we hadn't thought of that ourselves, and that's the only thing that's a little offensive when people say that. Like, we brought the guest on here, and now you're saying the guest should be here, and we're saying, so obviously, duh. But I appreciate that people want to see more of April, and it looks like at least we'll get some more Friday, and hopefully we can make some, anyway. And Kim, I think you raise a really important point. And first of all, so I publicly invite you. You're always welcome to join us Friday morning if you would like to be part of that discussion.
You said that last time. You had about 12, 15. You had about 12, 15 people. It wasn't no more room. All the boxes was filled up. Where was I going to
be? She was Cindy Brady. She was like, I get no play. I can't get no play.
I had no space. But hey, you didn't need me. Shit, you had all the experts right there. I would have been the peanut gallery.
April, I didn't know what was happening. Like, people thought I was joking. It was an April Silver takeover. I was just sitting here and watching folks pop on up. So it's great. So so that's what I'm saying. I don't know exactly what's happening Friday, but that's what. By the way, and we're also going to be talking about a new hip hop documentary on Friday that focuses on the history of DC hip hop that is recently put out. So we're going to get into some of that as well Friday morning. But so Kim, you might want to be around for that too. So like you would be welcome for all of that anyway.
Thank you.
Listen, because I know time is short, and we have a lot of guests coming up this morning. We're covering a lot here in the Remix Morning Show at Black Power Media. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get to that next segment and bring some folks on to talk about Nicaragua.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Yes, indeed. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show here at Black Power Media. And whereas, again, as promised, we are joined by a couple of folks fresh off of a trip representing Black Alliance for Peace, Pan-African Community Action. Of course, folks already know, just to shout him out, our dear brother Netfa Freeman made sure that this got put together. And I know he's had a lot to do with this whole thing as well. But I want to welcome to our program this morning, both Makeda Sheffield, please correct me if need be on any of that, who is, among many other things, a producer for RT International and with a BA in broadcast communications from the good Bowie State University. Shout out to my good crew at the HBCU down the road from us here in Maryland, at Bowie State. Welcome to the program. And also my dear brother, haven't seen him in too long a time, Garrett Harris, who is among many other things, an organizer in Pan-African Community Action, working on a community control over police campaign in Washington, D.C., and by default, a member of Black Alliance for Peace. Welcome to you both. Good morning. And let's get into it. Tell us about this trip. You all just came back from Nicaragua. What do we need to know about what's going on down there and why it's relevant to what's going on up here?
Go ahead, Makeda.
Oh, well, good morning, first of all. I hope everybody is doing well. So we had the opportunity to really take a great adventure and a learning experience to engage in the election process in Nicaragua, which is something that I think is really important, not only to our experiences here in America as members of our Black community, but also to see how their election processes are often intervened or interrupted by the U.S. government, and how they try to send false narratives and often disrupt people's freedom to govern their own communities. So I think that was also very important to be there to witness and see that, and also speak to the different communities there that are often very active in that process, which is something that I don't believe that we have that freedom here in America.
Yeah, it was a very eye-opening experience. Yeah, that's
Right on. Full disclosure. Take credit, Big Papa. That's what I'm talking about.
Never say go.
Yeah,
Let my child show up somewhere and see if that don't pop up on screen some way, somehow. Watch that. Watch that. Watch that.
Yeah, Nefa did a lot of organizing of it, and it was my first time traveling out of the country. You know, seeing the conditions that people live in, that our people live in, seeing, you know, the struggle, a revolutionary process where people are struggling through the contradictions of colonialism that none of us really had control over. But the city of Bluefields, or the region of Bluefields, the southern region in the Caribbean coast, is where is where many of the Afro descendant populations are. And so historically, this region has been isolated, not just this region, but other coastal regions that populated by indigenous peoples. but this region has been historically excluded, has been used as an extraction point, and has never had any kind of say in the development of the nation, let alone the development of the nation, but not even, of their own region. And so the Sandinistas, led by Daniel Ortega, really were the first ones to bring these regions to the table under a national agenda. And we got to see some of that, not just in Bluefields, but on the way there, because part of the agenda was roads, building infrastructure so people can travel back and forth, be connected to the rest of the country, mainly Managua, where we landed. And I don't want to talk too much, so I'll leave it open for questions. Or
Anybody want to jump?
So who was running? I'm sorry. I'm coming to this issue completely ignorant. I don't know anything about the elections happening in Nicaragua. So if you could kind of brief us on, I guess, the candidates that were running, the sort of platforms that they were running on, and the kind of interference that the United States was trying to basically meddling in people's elections. US be crying about Russia, but meanwhile, this is what the US does for fun. You know what I mean? Like in his leisure time, be meddling in other people's elections. So could you kind of just brief us about the candidates and sort of the policies and issues that they were running on?
I will say this: if you ask the United States government, there's only one person running, right? Which was kind of the narrative that was being put out there on social media. And so we had a lot of different conversations with a lot of local officials, not only about the past uses of social media, but how the United States began to undermine even this election cycle a year ago, right? So even seeing how they have really funneled a lot of money, not only into the other candidates, which they say do not exist, right? But they're also kind of like, not only do these other candidates not exist, this man, Daniel Ortega, is running alone by himself, and he has thrown all these additional candidates in jail. So there's nobody to run against this man. He's essentially becoming a dictator underneath of this establishment, and he has to go, right? So how can this be a free and fair type of election process when there's only one person and one candidate to vote for, and the people do not have a say in this? Our experience there was just the opposite, right? So not only, I wish I could show you a picture, not only were there 6 or 7 other parties involved in this, something that I think would be very helpful in America is that there's little pictures of the candidates with their organization that they are affiliated with. And so you clearly see who you are voting for. It's not a surprise. It's not a guess in the box type of thing, which is ironic when you're talking about being able to explain and understand the people and what the people want in the country as a whole. Another really interesting part of that is that there were a lot of ways that the United States tried to undermine like how the process was going to go forth. Pretty much it's a very convoluted thing, but there's clearly you say the things that the United States government were ultimately saying about these other candidates, a lot of them, yes, did end up in jail, but for past offenses, for what we would consider treason, not only here in America, but in anybody else's country as well. So you cannot take the United States government's word or even this propaganda that the Americans are now saying that it's not fair and it's not a free election process. You got to really take it with a grain of salt because it's not true.
And the people that the people that were arrested were not candidates. They were people who tried to run for president, but they hadn't been accepted by any political party, which is what it takes to. Which there's many different political parties, and we saw the pictures and the posters of so many different political parties and candidates all plastered across the roads we were driving on. So it's not like there's no parties that exist. It's just that the Sandinista party is the most popular party, and the West knows that. And the things that they are providing for their country. I mean, we were riding down these rural roads where, where people don't, maybe have outhouses for bathrooms, right? But they had, one, a new highway. They had, medical centers, ambulances, fire trucks, And you can tell that these things weren't as old as the structures around them, right? So these things had been newly implemented by the party, and many of those things had Sandinista flags on them, right? And you saw people with new farms with Sandinista black and red on it, right? Because they're helping people raise the standard of living in the most rural, neglected places, right? And that is something that is, that's a threat. But the electoral process and the people who were arrested, like Makeda was saying, one, they were not presidential candidates. The United States was trying to pull a Guaido effect, the same thing they did in Venezuela. They're trying to funnel millions and millions of dollars to candidates and individuals that they deem as, having their interest to disrupt the election. And the people, really not even just the Sandinistas, but the opposition parties also didn't even want to back these candidates that the United States is trying to impose on them. So yeah, it was definitely free and fairer than more effort put into making sure people got to the polls. They go to each house, months before the election, and talk to people and let them know where they're voting, how they're going to get there, those kind of things. So that people are not wondering, oh, where do I got to go like we do? Dang, I don't know where my voting, booth is. They knew exactly where they're going to go. And that made it a lot more accessible to people who normally, you couldn't imagine the type of rule we're talking about. People that far away would probably never vote, or many of them wouldn't vote if it was the United States.
Could
So
you
overall,
vote? Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead, Kalanja.
No, I was just going to ask. So overall, the people that you all spoke to, they were pretty confident in the Sandinista party as far as what you witnessed, as far as the people that you talked to.
Yeah, I would say that you have to also, this is a government system that has provided a lot of these people not only with free healthcare, free education, um, the right to autonomy, which is very important, which we discussed a lot while we were down there. And autonomy meaning that these indigenous peoples have the right to not only celebrate their own heritage, but their own culture, their own languages, the right to not only express those in places such as like the school system as well. We spoke to a group of ladies who said that previously that had not been the case, and they were like marked negatively for speaking in their native tongues and languages. And so we have this idea that this system or party has made a lot of things more accessible for a lot of people. So they're not having to travel far in order to be educated. They don't have to travel 6 hours away in order to receive a university education. They can literally drive down the road in their area and still have not only a trade that they can utilize, which is important. So now we're talking about educating another group of another generation in order to have things like plumbing or electricity, like things a useful skill. They can do them closely and then take those same skills and then use them in their community. They don't have to go far away in order to be educated. So that's important. I think it's also important to notice to realize that in Nicaragua, the women are just as important as the men, and that representation makes a big difference. So not only if the person running for president is a man, then the vice president has to be a woman. And we see this distinction very clearly across the board in their politics. That's something that I feel like would dramatically change the way that the United States government system would operate if we had the sort of balance in place. We don't have that. I here at all. So I feel like we see this representation and makes a difference not only in how they're governing, but also how we're seeing very strong and powerful leadership that is happening in a very real time. In a matter of 10 years, people now have running water and electricity, and now they are connected to a lot of the country, which was not the case before. We were talking about it would take a 6-hour trip in order to get someplace versus like taking a boat literally 45 minutes instead of having to like drive all around the countryside. That's a very big deal when we're talking about connectivity. It's not just like I can get on a bus and go down the street. It's not so simple. So these things have made very big strides in these communities. And yes, are there going to be people who are unhappy with everything? Of course. But it's about trying to like lead that charge and taking those baby steps that I personally don't see are happening here at all. So that was, I think, a very big and powerful thing, that we're watching these ladies who are just as important and they are just as informative and informed, and they know how to push for the things that they want to see in their communities. And that's a great thing.
So I know we don't have that much time, so to sort of lead you to any sort of concluding thoughts, I couldn't help thinking as I'm listening to you both that years ago the story that was behind the crack rock that ended up in my pipe down the road in DC
Yep.
was connected to
Yeah.
a process that the federal government engaged in to fund a counter-revolution against the Sandinistas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So again, as I keep trying to think about these connections that are in that example are a very reactionary intercommunal way, as Huey Newton might have described it, to think of a revolutionary intercommunal relationship that would bring about the solidarity that you two are expressing in your work. What other kinds of connections maybe do we need to think? I think you've already outlined at least several, but I mean, I'm just trying to think of, when you're trying to encourage Black Alliance for Peace to expand its ranks and to have people take notice of the analysis that you all are bringing, and again, as to why, Garrett, for instance, your first time out of the country is to go to on this particular trip, when people might be thinking, well, why would you go to Nicaragua? Why wouldn't you be going, I don't know, wherever
Cancun,
Right.
Jamaica.
or something, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Kanye was about Calabasas. I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think,
Anyway, please,
Yeah.
anyway.
I mean, I
respond to
think
any of
it's
that,
an
please.
example. It's the example of peoples fighting against colonialism, fighting the capitalist order in this hemisphere. I think a lot of contradictions that we face is that we're fighting for national liberation on a settler colony where we're stolen from our land, right? So that makes it that much difficult to create a revolutionary process. And so seeing these Africans there figure out their path, right? And then also the native blood peoples and the different, peoples in Nicaragua figure out how to, raise the standard of living, have a participatory process that is actually geared towards moving forward and figuring out or overcoming those contradictions versus I think I was talking to Sister Jackie yesterday about the U.S. political elite. They try to hold on to those contradictions, right? And then you have this Sandinista party that is trying to overcome all of many of the same contradictions. And so I think, that example is very important for us, and it can't, it can only really be replicated in this hemisphere of people with similar historical, history.
Right on. Makeda, any other responses or comments before we unfortunately have to move on?
I think that maybe I'll just say one thing about like the police system there, because we had the opportunity to speak with one of the, I guess, founders who reestablished what policing looks like in Nicaragua. And it's a very different approach to our militant system here in the United States. And so they take a very more like community presence, and they're more engaged and more like foot and hands on. It's not a very it's not violent. I mean, I wouldn't consider like as much violence or uh, an act of violence and an act of like submission or control. It's more about like community engagement and community leadership within those different regions. And I think that's a very also big difference when we're talking about like indigenous people having the right to control and organize within their own communities. That presence also makes a difference in how these police officers are engaging within their community. It has a different look to it than what we're continually seeing on on the streets of the United States, and how our police officers here engage with society and our organization or our communities here. So I think that was also a very big difference. They're very open. They travel together. Nobody is like behind some sort of like glass shield car.
Yeah.
They're there.
No
Like you
none of
had
that.
access to them. There's nothing, I wouldn't call it intimidating about them, like right, but they're more personable than what my experience has been in the United States.
So quick question to jump in. So what did you experience in terms of the community organizing that was happening on the ground in Nicaragua that was either connected to the Sandinistas or how people were moving and organizing? Did you feel like people felt a sense of power or control over resources, over political institutions that we probably just don't see here? Like, what was your experience with people in their sort of mass movement in support of Sandinistas and to support of having some access to resources?
Well, I mean, we saw a lot of, well, it was an election period, right? And we were going to election polls. So there wasn't a lot of like mobilization or organizing outside of a lot of places that we were. But what we did see was a large, a cultural shift or a cultural effort for reinvigoration of a culture that's tied to the revolutionary process. And so we saw schools with Sandinista paintings and graffiti that said, you know, Viva Chavez or Viva Sandino, and then we also saw inside of the schools this, like when Makeda was talking about, a curriculum that's built to give people pride, and there's several different cultures that exist, right? And they even had their autonomous flag within the secondary school. So it wasn't like, as we can imagine, because we go through that, being educated by in this white centric or Christopher Columbus founded things. It was a curriculum from grade school up that from, you know, taught both the languages that you speak and Creole and Spanish. And like Makeda was saying, the new thing is that they're actually making education appealing. Like Kalandra was talking about making revolution appealing, because generations have been left out for so long. They were talking about making the kids want to learn, right? And making it, and part of that is having actual work and jobs for people to do after they, because before, if you could afford school, there wasn't anything that you could really do. And now they have, you know, careers for people. They have things that people can do after they get out of school and get their education. Um, and so, yeah, that was part of the mobilization. Is what you saw was a cultural shift in a lot of art and a lot of you know, spray painting on the walls about revolution and about unity. And, you know.
I'll piggyback off what Garrett just said, only because there was a young boy outside of one of the polling centers. And even though he was 14 and even though he could not vote, he was still very active and engaged in helping people get with whatever information they needed. If they needed to know where they needed to go vote, he was there. So there's a very younger presence in their voting system because in tune and engaged in what it is that they need. And so that makes them very more in tune to say like, hey, this is an organization that I agree with and who are fighting not only for me, but for my community. They're fighting for my mom. They're fighting for the water that I need in order to get up. They're fighting for the food that I need to eat and make it through the day. They're going to make sure that I have a good meal if I cannot afford to have something from my mom, or I do not have the availability to me. They're seeing that active engagement from a very young age, what makes them more willing and more participatory in their election process. I have never had somebody come up to me and say, hey, would you like to go vote? You're going to be able to vote in a couple of years. Do you want to know what that process looks like? Do you know who you're even voting for? Do you know what the laws or rules or regulations are in your state? How engaged are you? Do you know what's on the ballot this month? It
Or
takes
vote
us
for something.
Oh, that's just because I don't know exactly how old you are, but maybe you too young for Puffy's rock for
Well,
that.
we do the vote,
Maybe
but
you
these
just
young
missed
people
the
are voting
whole.
because they're voting for something. They're voting to raise their
Right.
stand. They clearly see what the stakes are. You know,
Yeah,
we're
true
disengaged
democracy.
because it doesn't matter who we vote for. It's the same thing.
Right.
Let me ask you all this. You know, being younger organizers, what were some of your takeaways? Because of the fact that it sounds like you know, you all had a life-changing, awesome experience. Are there any things that you would take from that trip and implement in your organizing here in the States?
Go ahead,
My
girl.
question crazy or what?
Organizer
I mean,
extraordinaire.
like I said sir crazy. I'm like, okay.
no, I just don't want
Like
to.
they smell your breath through the microphone.
Exactly.
Like,
Like damn. Like hold on.
Nah. I mean, just the confidence that the Sandinistas and the people walk with and talk with. I mean, like this little country, right, that is being attacked by this empire, and the clarity with which they know they're gonna win, right, and even not just in themselves, but in the understanding that this empire has its own internal contradictions that is tearing it apart. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so to see them walk with pride and to talk like, yeah, we're gonna win, like no question, we're gonna win. You know what I mean? That in the conditions that they're in, that lets me know that we should be walking with pride as well, right? And that we should be, and not in like a macho sense, but that we should be sure that we're gonna win. There should be no question in our minds that we're gonna win. We should move like that. That was the most inspiring thing I saw.
That's dope. That's dope.
Let me ask you all this real quick. Just very quickly, if you all don't mind, because a couple years ago, I actually raised this with a seasoned veteran activist, and she was polite. She said I was just a hater, which is very possible. I mean, it's very possible because I raised this question because look, I know Garrett, we've met a number of times. I'm a little bit familiar with the work of that you have been involved with. Makeda a little less so, unfortunately, but knowing your father and some of the background and knowing a little bit of what BAP does, I clearly don't think what I'm saying here applies to you. So I'm asking almost because you've had this experience, and so have my colleagues, at least I think certainly more than I have. But my point was, what I was asking was, when I see people sometimes being invited, Black folks being invited to Palestine, which is sometimes the more chic invitation for activists. My question is always, what are they going for? Because what are they going to say to the Palestinians? That we've been unsuccessful in winning over here, so we're going to come now look at your situation up close to see how we can tell you what we haven't been able to do over here. And my real reason is that saying that is because a lot of the people that I see going, I'm not aware of having any actual connections to grassroots organization in any meaningful way. So I'm saying you're not doing anything. Like they always say, well, we're going to come back and tell the people what we saw. And I'm like, but who are you talking to? Like a nonprofit funder, some of your faculty, colleagues. Now, the reason I'm a hater is because I've never been invited. So I'm saying, it's easy for me to say, no, but I am curious, is there a contradiction here? Am I making something? Am I just hating, or is there value beyond what I don't know. I mean, I ask all of you this actually.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Garrett. I mean, I would say I give you my surface level interpretation only because I think that as a force, the United States is really losing a lot of its stronghold across the globe, and what that looks like and how they're able to impart their opinion or their will or their force on other nations. You can see a lot of Latin American and Central American countries now taking a stand as to how they are going to be pushed around or lack thereof by this entity. And because we're seeing not only that struggle in an international space, we're also seeing that contention here on our own soil, that we don't even know if we should wear a mask. We don't know if we should shoot or not shoot the Black people in the street. We have no real consensus. And it is spilling out into an international space in which the United States is really losing a lot of its stronghold and a lot of its legitimacy into how they're able to exercise their power. So I think in that same point, the United States is also utilizing social media in a mass attack on how not only to warp the minds or their intentions in a global space to cause a lot of misinformation. Right? So if I don't believe you and you can't believe another organization, then what's the point? And if we're only going to believe WHO or OAS because these are the sources of previous legitimacy, then we have to do better. So that's just like my personal opinion about that. But Garrett, please,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of people was like, "Hey, you back from vacation?" I was like, "Bro, I wasn't on vacation. We was traveling. I was tired when I got back. It wasn't no vacation." Yeah. I don't know what a lot of. I think I know what you're talking about, and I don't know what organization those folks are or are not tied into. I know it wasn't up front. But I think there's always going to be contradictions when you're coming from the first world and you're trying to relate to people, in the third world, right? And until we build that movement, yeah, we're gonna, some people are gonna look at us like, what are you doing here? But I think the principal thing to do is to be strategic about how we engage. And I think that it was intelligent move for us to go there and challenge imperialism's narrative, and highlight the successes of the process and the fair process that we saw that took place. I think that, yeah, going there with a specific purpose and tied to organization and with the intent on coming back and continuing to build towards particular objectives, that's the difference between going out there and trying to just, take pictures or look at people like they're in a zoo or something, you know what I mean? And actually be struggling to change the conditions and make the link the struggles together.
Really quick, my first political trip was to Cuba. Well, my first international trip was to Cuba, under the guise of a political organization, and same thing when I went to Palestine. And so I just want to echo what Garrett is saying. Sometimes the folks over there too, they know that the narrative that's being put out about them is that they are in some cases terrorists, that they're anti this, that their politics are subversive to the system at large. And sometimes those folks need to know that they have allies, even in the place that is most responsible for their oppression. Because obviously part of the idea, going back to the Vietnam War in particular, is that the people here in the States have some role to play in stopping their own government, right? Their own government from behaving in the oppressive way that they are doing. And a lot of, we refer a lot of times to the belly of the beast. What is our role? Our role is not only to fight for our own liberation, but is to help stop the people who claim to be representing us from furthering oppression of others, and how our struggle is tied to their struggle. And so for me, echoing it again, it was that political connection that made the most sense for me. And when we did what we call Black August trips to Cuba and brought other people, it was allowing them to see Cuba outside of the political propaganda of the United States, of what Cuba was and what Cuba, what was Cuba like, and from what they got from like U.S. media and U.S. government propaganda. And so again, I agree, like they're steps, right? They're not necessarily the revolution in and of themselves, but there are steps, and there are steps that help politicize me individually, and I know that helped politicize other people and kept carrying them on in terms of struggle and joining organizations and remaining in organizations. So
some of that is also just some of that is tearing down the prestige of what they think the U.S. is. So some of the conversations, and you don't want to sound ridiculous as far as the standard of living, but some things they don't have to deal with, right? They don't have to deal with their children being unsafe when they walk to school or from school. They don't have to deal with, like, I was like, it was at night and there was no gunshots out here. He was like, nah, no, certain things they don't have to deal with, and they're shocked to hear how we have to deal with our kids getting hit by gunfire or people dying every day like that. So those connections are there, and
yeah. To add on to what
that. Oh yeah,
I was just gonna say, to add on to what Makeda was saying about the whole social media thing. I think a lot of folks are forgetting that social media is media. You know what I mean? And it is a serious propaganda machine right now that's being utilized to really, undermine, many of these nations. And it's sad because of the fact that, it is the getting proper information is few and far between right now. You know what I mean? And of course, as they say, information is power. But definitely, I'm glad that you pointed it out, because that's one of the things that folks from Ethiopia was talking about last night. Just how Facebook in particular and CNN has joined the war, against them and helping to demonize and support the true terrorists. So it is definitely, social media right now is the mouthpiece of imperialism. And it's like, we're missing out and not understanding the importance of the work that we all are doing. So definitely I salute both of you for, coming back and just giving us this important information, because of the fact that many of us, we haven't been in Nicaragua, and we only hear what allies and comrades have to say loosely, but we don't get a thorough assessment. So it is great that, to Jared's point, that the right folks are going to the right places to, touch down with the natives and show the support, and also come back and, lend a voice to folks who aren't familiar with the circumstances and situations.
No doubt. Hey, listen, Makeda, Garrett, we really appreciate you coming through. Come back anytime. And we thank you and Black Alliance for Peace for doing that work. And again, folks can get more at blackallianceforpeace.com/Nicaragua. All right. So good people, appreciate you coming through. Take good care.
No
Thank
doubt.
you.
Peace.
Stay focused.
Yes, indeed. That was dope. Again, shout out to BAP and Net for Freeman for putting all that together. Garrett, Makeda, appreciate you. Is the ear doctor coming back through? Is he set up? And where is he? Is he back at BPM Studios? Back
He
in
might
the
be in
Batcave?
Nicaragua himself. But
You already know. I'm back. I'm back with the fresh remix shirt on. Yo,
okay.
I got to give a quick shout out to Jesse Jackson, man. I know you're wondering why. Jesse Jackson pretty much in the Ahmaud Arbery case, they said they don't want no more black pastors coming in the courtroom after Al Sharpton was there. So what did Jesse Jackson do? He brought his black pastor ass right up in the courtroom.
Hey man, you can't name check Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson gonna show up like Candyman out this bitch. You say Jesse Jackson name enough times, Jesse gonna show up behind you. so don't
might
don't
not
be
know
names
I
out here
am,
with Reverend Jackson.
but I'll be there.
He's somebody. He's definitely somebody.
And when we come back, can we talk a little bit? I know we're about to do a break, but this Rittenhouse choosing his jurors. I mean, I want to talk about that. Like he chose the folks to deliberate his outcome, which is highly unusual. But yeah,
and I've been hearing about Jared's man Jimmy Dore in Rittenhouse too. So we gotta figure that particular piece out too, because folks been asking me what the deal is, and I'm like, nah. That's Jared.
That's Jared's boy. That's Jared's
that.
Dore is supporting Rittenhouse. Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I'm confused.
Oh, we're gonna do a quick break and come back to that.
And let me clean that up.
Yeah, we're gonna do a quick break and come back to that.
Darknesses. Remix.
Yeah. What's good, everybody? I gotta fix this thing going on here. But anyway, let me rock out and let y'all know something real quick. This is Black Power Media. I'm the ear doctor, and I want y'all to go check out a former show that came on that was on Riot Starter TV, and it was pretty dope. I must say that you need to go check it out. It was one where we had Cynthia McKinney come through and drop some jewels. So let's go ahead and check a little bit of that out right here, right now. Come on.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because I noticed a change, and I'm glad you pointed out locally, because of the fact that all politics are local, but on a national and international level, when you were in office, you brought up issues like COINTELPRO.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You talked about the assassination of Tupac. You talked about with DynCorp and what was going on with the war games during 9/11, which so now we have this new brand of politicians. You have the quote unquote squad. I want to ask you, I wouldn't be me if I don't ask you, like, what is your take on the squad? I mean, are they the new Cynthia McKinney's and or are they byproducts of Obama?
This is acceptable politics in the Obama reign. And so now we continue to live in the realm of Obama. And so therefore, the politics that's practiced is Obama politics. And that, again, is another problem with Obama mania. So
I'm only giving you a little bit. I'm only giving you a little bit. You got to go check out the rest of it, see what she talk about Obama, see what she talks about the squad and a bunch of other things. So go check that show out on Riot Starter TV. Now back to the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
I was just getting comfortable. I was about to start watching that joint again.
I was like, that was such a great question to see her go like this. She's like, oh, hell. You can't even get the question out. She's like, oh, hell no, that's not me. That's not my politics.
Yeah, so y'all go check that one out, and I'll check y'all out tomorrow. Peace.
Peace. Yeah, Dr. By the way, she's on a list with Trevor Noah and Dua Lipa and some others. That is Cynthia McKinney of 2021's top anti-Semites of the year. I just saw that on Twitter. Yeah, there's a vote. I'm not sure. And by the way, there's a porn star is on the list too.
All right. What's her name?
Hold on, no, because I know it too. I'm fronting right now. I'm not trying to front. Like, I do know who it is.
Yeah, nigga, we know you know.
No, I know. I'm not. This is just my age and my habitual lifestyle. But it'll come to me. But she's on the list, and I'm not sure exactly what.
Who made this list? The ADL.
It's an ADL like. I didn't really look too much into it. I saw it on Twitter and I clicked. I did see the website. It is apparently an official website. It's like some ADL like group that and the voting is open. For people to pick. But I just Daniels.
Oh wow! Somebody knows who it is in the chat.
Hiram know all the names. Hiram's up there.
Oh, no, it's not Stormy Daniels.
So no, it's Mia Khalifa.
Brian Pumper.
Mia Khalifa. That's it. Thank you. The Brian Pumper. That's funny.
Okay.
Hey. Now y'all really telling y'all age now.
We'll probably make it next year. Don't worry.
But I was like, damn, they don't. I was like, because I was like, they're still hounding Cynthia. Like, she can't get that far out of the limelight and mainstream. She's not even in the country anymore, and they still
never.
Anyway, never gonna forgive
I'm surprised Minister Farrakhan wasn't on that joint. You know that, I mean, like, there's certain black people's names that white people love to like bring up in order to fearmonger, and Cynthia McKinney and Minister Farrakhan is on that list of so-called anti-Semites. It's like, all right, niggas, whatever.
But they got to save Farrakhan for when like they need to like whip him out to put somebody else back in place.
That's a
like,
big
so you were a supporter of Farrakhan.
It's a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kim's gonna be on there.
To be honest,
with that Fox
and I love my NOI, but I suspect that there's some reciprocity in that hostility as well. In other words, you know what I'm saying, getting hated on by the Jews is a talking point in our community as well. So
it's so strange to me. Can I just say this just for the record? Like, I find anti-Semitism to be a strange thing generally, because I mean, first of all, anti-Semitism that's like white on white violence, in my opinion. Like, that's white people, ranking the hierarchy of whiteness and deeming Jewish people not to be of the same caliber as Anglo-Saxons or whatever the fuck. But at the same time, it's so weird for me when black people have anti-Jewish sentiments. I'm like, well, how can you tell the difference between Jewish people and other racist white people? Like, I don't make them distinctions. You know what I'm saying? Like, racist whites all go in the same pot. I don't give a fuck if they Catholic, Jewish, Mormon, whatever. But so it's strange to me when people intentionally segregate out Jewish people for anything. And it's like, but they white people, regular, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see the difference between Jewish people and other white people in this country anyway.
Congratulations, Kim. You just made the 2022 list.
Hey, kiss
Yeah,
my
I
ass
think-
Actually, no,
off, 'cause
she
I don't have
didn't-
nothing against
yeah.
you. I mean, I mean that sounds.
I'm
like
about to make the list. I'm gonna make the list.
help
about
me out,
why.
dog, because I don't understand anti-Semitism.
Well, I think
really
there's a
don't.
certain thing. I mean, I think part of it is one. There's the liberal Jewish aesthetic that likes to claim that they're down with Black struggle. So one, I think they try to put themselves. Too many folks try to put themselves in a particular category of we've supported you, the civil rights movement, and so forth and so on. Two, I think particularly in urban neighborhoods, there is a closeness around. People don't like to talk about it, like Jewish landlords or store owners, and their direct interaction with Black people. And so, you know, the people, and three, I think there is, as in anything, if there's a largesse sentiment of anti-Semitism, some of that will creep into everybody, right? It's just like white supremacy creeps into Black folks. There's going to be some. So I think when you bring all that together, you do have a distinction sometimes between some of the whites in the white family of oppression, because some try to separate themselves and point out to you that their own oppression that they suffered in Europe makes them similar, as you getting charged extra rent, or as nobody's cleaning up the apartment that you live in that has rats and roaches and the rest of it, because people just want to get their rent. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that that's every Jew and all the rest of it, but obviously people get stereotyped for their very presence of doing something and coming from a particular group. So I think that has, and it may not be as true today as it's been in the past, but a lot of times Jewish folks have been used and sometimes have allowed themselves to be used, just as Indian folks, particularly in the African context, have allowed themselves to be used as this middle caste group that serves the interests of either larger capitalists, or it works directly with the natives, but makes their profit off of it. And so I think sometimes they get targeted. And then I think there is, lastly, the split that's happened over the question of Israel, particularly with progressive to left Black organizations and groups. The one thing I can give Andy Young any credit for is pointing out some of the issues of Zionism, and then getting destroyed for it and actually losing career and job. And so I think that stuff is part of the mix. But I would concur with you that the ultimate issue is a fight between whites and whiteness, which even when they have their fights, right? The U.S. system, the European system, set up Zionism to be that outpost in the Middle East to serve the interest of Western imperialism.
And I like to point out,
killing them in
actually,
Europe, right?
Yeah, what Nefa said, separating Zionism and Judaism as well. You know what I'm saying? Just understanding the difference between the religion and the act itself. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that we know that Zionist Israel is the cause of all types of fuckery throughout the world. So we want to point that out as well. So anyway.
I just want to say very quickly, there's a lot I really want to say. I just don't think we have time, and I think my computer is dying at the same time. So, but very quickly, I think the simple thing we have to always remember is that anti-Semitism is an official, stated, documented psychological warfare, public relations campaign attack by Israel to deflect criticism of Israel and Zionism. So before we go anywhere else, I think we have to start there, that they have officially deployed anti-Semitism as a tactic to defend the state of Israel and its Zionist policies. So everything for me descends from that point at this point in world history when that term comes up. I'll save whatever else I have to say for another time when we have more time, but because I know there was another quick point we wanted to get to and we're about to wrap, and I think my computer's rapping on me as I speak.
Oh,
Jimmy Dore.
It's funny when we talk about Jimmy Dore, your computer's about to go out, B. What's going on? There's no plugs in your house?
What's up with your white friend, Jared? What's going on?
Between Jews and Jimmy Dore, I guess my computer is just I'm set up this morning. But yeah, anyway.
So quickly, Jared, what Jimmy Dore is supporting Rittenhouse, and what is your opinion on your friend Jimmy Dore doing that?
I honestly don't know. See, this was my point, and Kim would have to break this down, because for me, I haven't watched Jimmy Dore in weeks. And it literally is connected to his increased involvement of representatives of the Fred Hampton leftists, whose analysis I don't find appealing and their discussion I don't find informative. And it's not bringing in the kind of politics that we all work with. So if that was going to be where that show was going, it lost its value for me. So Jimmy Dore has always just been a fun mainstream critic of the Democratic Party. That's what I was enjoying him for. Everything else about what he's been up to has been less appealing. And I honestly haven't watched in weeks, so I don't know what he's been saying.
So the past couple of weeks, let me just say this real quick. So just to bring Jared up to speed, because I too do not consume Jimmy Dore's content with regularity, just for the simple fact that I'm very skeptical of white liberal men in progressive radical clothing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust that shit. Like, because they talk one way, and then they all of a sudden understand the perspectives of the far right and people like Kyle Rittenhouse, and then they go the way of Bill Maher. Like that I'm always very dubious about people exactly like Jimmy Dore and Bill Maher. So one example of Jimmy Dore sort of making his platform, I guess, palatable for far right wingers is one, the Alternative Party of Germany, which is a very far right wing anti-immigration party. In connection to his debate about vaccines and anti-vaccines, etc., he allowed a speech from one of their MPs to be played on his show. He played this speech on his show as to use an example about how vaccine mandates and mask mandates could be creeping into fascism. But I'm like, so you utilize the fascist party of Germany to make this point? Okay, so there's that. But then this week, I believe, he has come out in defense of Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, he is up there sounding like Kyle Rittenhouse's defense attorney. Oh, well, obviously Kyle was there in self-defense, and the only reason he raised his gun is because he was being attacked and blah, blah, blah. Like, everything that he was sort of basing his opinion about Rittenhouse using lethal force as justifiable self-defense had everything to do with the clip of the video that was widely seen by everybody. At least from what I could tell from his argument, he left out all the provocations that Rittenhouse had committed up into the point where the actual murders were caught on film. So, I mean, if he wants to coddle and say that he could understand the point of Kyle Rittenhouse, an avowed white supremacist, armed white supremacist who basically was out there like the posse of old, coming out there to collect the radicals, be them the radical whites or the rebellious blacks. I mean, that's the whole reason Kyle Rittenhouse was out there, to uphold some sort of semblance of white supremacy and protecting property, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that Jimmy Dore has any sort of understanding, or I get where he's coming from, like, fuck you, dog. Like, fuck you, period, point blank. And that's your man, Jared. That's your
Jared.
Man. That's your man, Jared.
Jared.
Hey, why you trying to do my man Jared like that?
Chomsky.
That's Jared's boy. Jared
Hey.
Jared's the only nigga come on Black Power Media playing some goddamn Jimmy Dore clips. Y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Called your man Chomsky.
As opposed, so Kim might have been doing better if I brought John Oliver. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, at least we know where John Oliver is at, right?
Okay.
Like, I mean,
Okay.
I know where John Oliver is coming from. I believe.
I need not say anything else.
Beige wars on
That's
BPM,
all
ladies
right
and
there.
gentlemen.
Nah, that's
And
it.
at the end of the day, John Oliver is actually funny as a comedian. I don't know what the fuck Jimmy Dore comedy is. I ain't heard shit funny come out his
John
mouth.
Oliver is not
Again,
funny. I was with
continue
you up
to
until
rest
that
my
line.
case.
Kim, I was with you until that line. John Oliver is not funny.
Well, let me put it this way. I enjoyed his contribution to the Jon Stewart hosted The Daily Show, right? I thought that John Oliver did, and Colbert, when they were
He's
on.
Trevor funny. He's like Trevor funny. He's like lightweight.
Oh, wow.
Only Oliver I like is Oliver Samuel. Shout out to Oliver Samuel down in Jamaica. Anyway,
Trevor Noah funny.
Remix Morning Show, where you can start off with the real Dr. Umar Johnson chatting in the chat room.
He's still in the TC.
Allegedly.
And leave with Jimmy Dore and John Oliver. Anyway, tune in tomorrow. Anything going on today? We got any shows tonight?
I honestly don't know. That's why I tell people to hit that bell. Don't miss anything.
Umar,
I don't even
hit me
can't
up,
keep
Umar.
up with how much stuff is coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And just real quick, guys, I mean, I saw we had a max of about 180 up in here. We got 170. I only see 91 likes, ladies, gentlemen, and they. So please, let's get that math to mathing up in here. Let's get them thumbs up to match how many people we got rocking with us right now in the chat on the Remix Morning Show. Appreciate it, pimps.
Hey, and check out that piece I did on Ethiopia last night. It's real dope, man. The professors laid it out.
It
If you
is.
missed it, you know what I'm saying? Get a late pass. But we got a whole lot of shit coming up on Black Power Media. Don't get it twisted.
See
We'll
y'all tomorrow. Renegade Coach.
Black Owl.
I said Renegade Coach Remix. Bam.
See, you have a flashback. Remix.